Hey guys, how's it going? It's Review a Thing Thursday, which means I'm going to do another review. This week I decided to review another piece of the Addams Family franchise. So today I'm going to review the musical and each of its three adaptations. The musical started out in Chicago. Like most Broadway musicals, it did not debut on Broadway. It started off somewhere else. And it began in Chicago. And it was kind of like a preview, where like investors and critics and people like that could go and watch it and see how they like it and, critique it or decide whether or not they want to invest, etc., etc. Then it moved on to Broadway, and there was a lot of changes made. So many changes. And then it moved on to tour, and once again, a lot of changes were made. Like, so many. I think it's changed the most out of any Broadway show that I've seen so far. It made the most changes throughout its transitions. I'm going to talk to you guys about each different version, and then kind of tell you which one was my favorite, and kind of like rate each one of them, and, review them. Well, first let me tell you a little bit about the plot, so you kind of know what's going on. Well, the aspect of the musical is Wednesday is no longer a little girl. She's grown up, she's 18 years old now, and she's falling in love with this perceivably normal boy, whose name is Lucas. Well, Lucas's family gets invited to dinner at the Addams family's house, and it's kind of like the two families meeting and having conflicts with each other, with themselves, within each family. There's so many different conflicts within this musical. I think that's what keeps it interesting and really fun and enjoyable to watch. Now, the plot itself, even the plot itself, has some changes between the three different versions. In the Chicago version, in my personal opinion, I enjoyed the Chicago version the most. The Chicago version is my favorite. In the Chicago version, Wednesday wanted to go out and have dinner with Lucas's family somewhere else. She wanted to meet his family and get to know them somewhere else. Morticia has the idea of inviting them over to the Addams family house. And Wednesday does not like this idea. She is afraid that her family's going to scare Lucas's family off, and she'll never see him again, because he's from Ohio. That raises some hairs with the other people in the family. The inner conflicts between character versus character, character versus self, and all these conflicts, they tend to change a lot between each of the versions as well. I'm just going to use Morticia's conflicts, for example. Morticia has a conflict within herself throughout all three of the versions of the production. In the Chicago version, her conflict is that she's afraid that she's growing old, and she's not top dog anymore, she's not queen of the family, she's not number one. She's having to pass the torch over to Wednesday. And that's kind of rubbing her the wrong way. She doesn't really like it very much. And, you see Morticia, and you don't see her as a very selfish character. She's a very loving character. So this kind of conflict within herself is kind of surprising and something you don't really expect. And I think that's kind of interesting about it, too. You wouldn't expect Morticia to have this kind of conflict with herself, but she does. And then in the Broadway version, it's changed just slightly. She still fears that she's getting old, but it's not really the passing of the torch that's bugging her the most. It's the prospect of getting old and not being the same beautiful, sensual woman that she once was. And it's also the fact that she thinks that her and Gomez have quote-unquote wasted their life. They've spent most of their lives in their creepy house, kind of doing their usual, what's normal for the Addams family is what they've been doing for years. And she kind of fears that they've wasted their life because they haven't gone out to see the world and be adventurous and do fun, crazy things together. They've wasted their life. Um, and so now all of a sudden she wants to go out and see the world. Gomez is surprised by this because she quote-unquote doesn't like the world. And Morticia says, well, maybe I was wrong, maybe it's not as bad as I thought. And that's basically her main self-conflict through the Broadway version, is that she doesn't want to have wasted her life. That's the main thing in the Broadway. And then in the tour, it changes once again, and this time it changes completely. Completely. Morticia does not fear getting old in the tour version. It has nothing to do with her age. The conflict within the tour version is that Gomez is keeping something from her. And that's never happened to them before. They don't keep secrets from each other. It's something they don't do. It's something they just do not do, is keep secrets from each other. And so the fact that he's keeping something from her just upsets her so much. Well, there's so many changes between each version, I feel like I have to review each of them individually. Like I said, the Chicago version is probably my favorite. It has a lot of really cool, really, really funny scenes that they cut and changed throughout the Broadway and tour versions. One example of this, one of my favorite scenes from the Chicago version was cut. So, I'll set the scene for you a little bit. Gomez has been kicked out of his bedroom by Morticia. Because, like I said, they're having conflict. They're having a fight. Lucas's father, Mal, has been kicked out of their bedroom. And so the two kind of meet in the basement, which is kind of like Gomez's den. Like man cave, And oh, wouldn't it be cool if they actually had a literal man cave? That would be cool. You would think that would be something the Addams Family would have. Anyway, that was completely off topic. Sorry about that. So, as I was saying, the two kind of meet down in the den area, and Mal confesses that he has this fantasy about being a fish. Because fish seem like they don't have any care in the world. They don't need a license to get married. They don't have to worry about all those kind of things. They just kind of float along and do what they want. So Gomez has the idea of throwing him in with the family's giant squid. And so he does. He throws him in with the giant squid. And Gomez is alone for a few seconds, but then Alice, his wife, Mal's wife, comes down looking for Mal. And then she confesses that she wants Gomez to teach her how to tango, because she doesn't know how to, and she wants to teach Mal. And so they sing this little song called Teach Me How to Tango, and then right as he, dips her, Morticia comes downstairs. I think her original objective was to apologize to Gomez and, say, hey, you can come back upstairs. But now that she sees this happening, she's like, oh, no, this is not happening. And so instead, she pulls down one of Gomez's fencing swords from the wall and challenges him to a duel. And the two of them fence, and it is so cool. And they get some of the, ensemble to fence as well, and it's so awesome. It is probably one of the coolest scenes in the entire production. And after they fence, well, not after they fence, but kind of during the fencing match, Morticia finally says, you never loved me, admit it, or say it, or something like that. And he says, I never loved you, and she interrupts him and is like, he said it, and then he's like, I've never loved you more than I do now, and she's like, I've never hated you more than I do now, and so then he's like, alright, fine, so here's my heart, passionate and true, pierce it if you want to, pretty much, hey, go ahead. And she's about to pierce his heart, but then she's like, I can't. And then he's like, because you love me, and she says, because I hate you. And then they kind of have this little argument back and forth, hate, love, love, hate, love, for a moment, no? And until they finally just go, tango, and then they drop their swords, and the female ensemble pins up Morticia's skirt so that way she can move more freely, and they tango. And the song that they tango to actually has a name. It's called Tango de Amor, and it's really neat. it's a really pretty tango. It's really cool. In the Broadway and tour versions, they kept Tango d'Amour, but cut out the whole entire fencing endeavor. And I think that was a huge mistake. The fencing scene was so cool. So cool. They should have kept it. In the Broadway and tour versions, they sing kind of like a get back together song called Live Before We Die. And I actually really like this song. I think it's really pretty and it's really cool. And like I said, Morticia's upset that she wasted her life and she wants to travel the world. And one of the places that she wants to go most is Paris. And the song Live Before We Die is set to kind of like this pretty like Paris music, and so it's really neat. But I prefer the fencing scene, you know what I mean? Well, yeah, those are just some examples of some of the things that they changed that I think they could have kept. So like I said, the Chicago version is my favorite. Not only because of all of the awesome things that they cut, but also because of the cast. The original cast of this musical was genius. They were casted in the Chicago version, they were kept throughout most of the Broadway production, and I think they are so phenomenally casted. Bebe Neuwirth, who is one of my favorite actresses ever, plays Morticia Addams, and she is awesome. She plays the part to a T. She's really funny and cute and cool and just awesomely Morticia. And, you know, Bebe Neuwirth is famous for playing parts like Lilith on Cheers and Frasier, who is kind of like so freaking emotionless, which is hilarious, and Velma Kelly from Chicago. And so all of these other characters, I think, were perfect build-up to Morticia, because I think Morticia's kind of like a combination of these characters, and I think she just plays it perfectly. Nathan Lane, who plays Gomez, is so funny. Every expression, every line, every turn of the head, every cock of the eyebrow is just authentically Gomez and authentically funny. He is hilarious in this part. Every line he says it with such enthusiasm. I have to say, I think Raoul kind of beat him to the punch with the whole go big or go home Gomez kind of thing, but he actually really does pull it off, I think. And I just think the original cast is just genius. Like I said, it's kept through most of the Broadway production, so I like the cast of the Broadway production too, but later on, of course, the cast changes as well. Bebe Neuwirth no longer plays Morticia Addams. It was changed to Brooke Shields. And let me just say that I actually kind of like Brooke Shields. She's pretty, she's a good actress, you know, she seems like a nice person. If you've seen like interviews and stuff with her, she seems pretty nice. And so I actually kind of like Brooke Shields. The problem that I have is that she's not Morticia. She's not right for this part. For this particular part, she's just not the right pick. But I actually really kind of like Brooke Shields. So I can't really complain too much, but I just don't think she's right for Morticia. To be completely honest with you, I'm not sure who was picked to be Gomez, but it was changed from Nathan Lane to someone else. I could look it up, but I'm too lazy. So, yeah. Chicago version was probably the best out of all of them. The Broadway version was pretty good. A lot, and I mean a lot, of songs were cut, and a few were added. And then the tour version was changed a lot too. But I think most of the changes between the Broadway and tour versions were more about plot and less about the songs and the choreography and stuff. And like I said, in the Broadway and tour versions, Morticia's worried about getting old. And then in the Broadway and Chicago versions, and then in the tour version, she's worried about Gomez keeping secrets from her. And they actually add in a new song with the tour version called Secrets, and she sings this song to Alice about how Gomez never keeps secrets from her, but he actually is keeping a secret from her, and so it's like, pfft, irony! And, yeah. My second favorite would have to be the Broadway version. I just think this show started out so awesome, and then slowly got worse and worse as time went on. I don't know what happened. It used to be so good, and then all of a sudden, it just started going downhill. The Broadway version was pretty good, I'll admit it. But I think the biggest problem I have with the Broadway version is the fact that they cut out so many awesome scenes. Some of my favorite scenes were cut, like I said, the fencing scene, and then there's a scene where Gomez and Morticia, well actually, it's Gomez and Alice, I think, who sings this song called At 7, and that scene is hilarious. A lot of my favorite scenes have been cut, and so that kind of upset me, you know what I mean? But the Broadway version is still pretty good. The tour version is terrible. I don't like the tour version at all. I do, however, like the song Secrets, and I like Morticia, singing secrets to Alice, that whole little scene. The secret scene, I guess is what I'll call it. I like that. That I actually kind of enjoy. It's one of the only things about the tour version that I enjoy. One of the things that upset me about the tour version is I think they really rushed through Tango de Amor. They shortened it up and they rushed through it, and I don't like that. Also, the whole thing about Morticia's conflict being changed, I think her conflict was fine the way it was. You didn't have to change it. And another thing, Lucas and Wednesday sing a duet song called Crazier Than You in the Chicago and Broadway versions. And Alice and Mal sing a song called In the Arms of a Squid, which is kind of their getting back together song. Well, Crazier Than You is Wednesday and Lucas's getting back together song. Each of the main couples in this production had conflict and then got back together. And they each had a get back together song. For Gomez and Morticia, it's Tango de Amor. Like I said, for Wednesday and Lucas, it's Crazier Than You, and then Mal and Alice, it was In the Arms of a Squid. Well, in the tour version, they cut out In the Arms of a Squid, and instead, they had Alice and Mal sing Crazier Than You with Wednesday and Lucas, and I think that is the stupidest idea ever. In the Arms of a Squid was a hilarious and really good song. They should have kept that. And throwing them in with Crazier Than You was so aggravating. That's Wednesday and Lucas's song, people. Nobody else's. And so that kind of bugged me. And so my overall review of the Addams Family Musical as a whole is that it's great, it's funny, and it's entertaining, and the nostalgia of it is really cool. You're bringing back the Addams Family. And so overall, I really, really like it. My individual reviews of each version is the Chicago version, awesome. Broadway version, pretty good. Tour version, not so good. So I think I'll go ahead and give the Chicago version 5 stars out of 5. The Broadway version, 3.5 out of 5. Maybe a bit more. Yeah, I'll go ahead and say 4 stars out of 5. And then the tour version, 2 stars out of 5. It's not really that great. So yeah, that's basically my review of the Addams Family Musical. I hope you enjoyed. Go ahead and post some comments telling me what you think of the Addams Family Musical, if you've seen any of it. If you haven't, then don't leave a comment. I don't know. Well, you can still leave a comment, but I mean, you know what I mean. And I guess I will see you guys in my next video. My throat's kind of scratchy, if you couldn't tell. It's really bad right now. I'm hoping it gets better by the time Saturday rolls around, so I can sing for Sing-A-Song Saturday. But if it doesn't, I'll make a video apologizing. I guess, I don't know. Sorry about all my coughing and clearing my throat in this video. It's getting kind of hard for me to talk. I guess I should stop before I lose my voice, so I'll go ahead and close it with this. Comment, rate, subscribe, like, and all that other good stuff, and if you don't, may you be attacked by a giant squid. See you later, guys. Bye!